Welcome. My name is Kate Bolduc, and I'm here today with Paul Thornton, author of Leadership, Find Your Sweet Spot. Paul, what is the big idea in this book?
The big idea, I think, is to go from being a good leader to a great leader, you need to find your sweet spot.
Right. It's all about that sweet spot.
Yeah. It's kind of like in sports, you know, they talk about the sweet spot in tennis and in golf. It's where you hit the ball, where you get the most impact, you hit the ball the farthest, or you make the best shot. Same idea with leadership. When you're in your sweet spot, you're making the greatest impact, you're having the greatest results. It's where you want to be.
Exactly. So you break this book into two parts. First part deals with finding the right spot, not the sweet spot, the right spot. What's the difference and what's that all about?
Good distinction. Leaders do a lot of things, as you know, coaching, delegating, monitoring performance. In all of these things, there's really a range of activities or actions the leader can take. For example, if you think about coaching, you know, you can do too much coaching or not enough coaching. So it's kind of like, where do you find that sweet spot, that fine line between doing just the right amount, you know?
Right.
It's challenging, but that's what's going to make the leader move from good leader to great leader.
Right. So what's the second part?
The second part is geared more towards, there's a number of things that leaders do that they have to do two things. For example, you got to talk and listen, you got to plan and implement, you got to manage and lead. So there's a number of things where you have to do two related activities. And the question there is finding the right balance between the two things you're engaged with. Let's take manager leader, for example. You got to do both. Managers really focus on the status quo. They want to keep things stable and organized and what have you. Leaders want to change things. If you have too much management and not enough leadership, that's not good. Things aren't changing fast enough to keep up with the changing environment. On the other hand, if you have too much leadership and not enough management, you're out of control and it may be chaos. So where is that balance point? That's really key.
That balance is exactly key.
Balance is important.
It is, and we also know that with leadership, listening is such a critical part of that, and that becomes a very delicate balance between listening and speaking. So in terms of coaching, and in your sweet spot, people say things like, your guidance was perfect. You nailed it. You did exactly what needed to be done.
Exactly. So when you're operating in your sweet spot, you're providing exactly what the person needs or the situation needs to succeed, to make the biggest impact, to be most successful, most productive, whatever you want to call it. But you're right on. Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so that's great. We understand the big picture, the big idea, and the sweet spot. So now, how do you take that concept and actually implement it? What kind of actions do you take to find that sweet spot?
Well, Kate, first of all, it's not easy to always be operating in your sweet spot, but I think there's a few things you can do. One thing you can do is you can try to improve your diagnostic skills.
Okay.
Every situation is unique and different. The more we understand our people and the challenges of the environment we're in, the more we can figure out what do we need to do as a leader to make the most impact. So work on your diagnostic skills to diagnose both the people and the situation. That's one thing you can do.
Right.
Another thing you can do, I think, is you can observe other leaders. You know, what do they do when they're operating at their best? What can we learn from them? That's always a good thing to do. And number three, you can ask for feedback. For example, if I was coaching you and I told you X, Y, Z, at the end of the session, I could say, you know, how was that? Did I provide too much information or not enough? Or, you know, where do we stand? Where's the fine line? I teach college students, and sometimes I find myself, I'm providing too much information and it's not helpful, not productive for them. So that's a thing you can do.
Well, and a great leader does ask for feedback.
Absolutely.
And that's a difficult thing sometimes for people to do.
Not only ask for the feedback, but fully consider it
And process
then
it.
process it, tweak your approach so you're more impactful. I mean,
Right.
that's the whole objective.
Exactly.
Sometimes number 4 comes down to just trial and error. You know, sometimes we just have to try something, whether it's coaching or collaborating or whatever it might be, and see how it goes. Be reflective and make tweaks and changes to our approach as we proceed. And finally, I hope you'll read my book, because my book does offer a lot of good advice on how you can find your sweet spot. And it's not all from me. There are over 50 leaders who comment on what they did to find their sweet spot and how it helped them be more impactful. So, good investment.
Very important. Good investment. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. I appreciate it.